joined by Stevie Mallan. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
I am good. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
Just want to go back to the start and ask you what your early football memories would be.
Earliest memories would be playing with St Mirren down at the racecourse. It's called in Paisley. Kind of grew up playing there. In Paisley with St Mirren anyway, grew up playing there and doing like the soccer camps you get in the Power League in Paisley. So I was there every Christmas, October holiday, summer holiday. I was flung in there. I think what was probably helped me going it for free because I played with St Mirren at the time. So every summer, every camp, I was put in there. It probably helped my mum and my dad. They were constantly working. So probably just growing up playing football there and gradually got into the race course at in Paisley as well, just playing every Saturday, Sunday, things like that. Just loving life. Like they said, like everybody's dream was to be a football player, and that I grew up playing football like 24/7, which thankfully it's kind of helped me just now.
And who would you say your biggest influences in football growing up were?
I say that a lot. Probably my dad. My dad played football when I was growing up, so he was kind of lower league Scottish football. So if usually kind of up until I was about maybe 15, 16, I would go to my dad's game on a Saturday and he would go to my game on a Sunday. That's kind of the way it worked out. My games were always Sundays for some reason. So and I was training like 2 or 3 times a week. And if I wasn't at my training, I would be at my dad's training. So like I was just constant football. That was just the way it was. I would go watch his training, go watch his games, and he would help me train myself doing like kind of individual things and stuff. So like it would have been a tough thing if I didn't become a football player because the amount of time and like my dad spent on me, my mum spent on me, the amount of time I did playing football and stuff like that, there was no way that I wasn't going to be a football player because I put that much effort into it that I had to come through. I was knackered.
And how did it come about that you were signing for St Mirren?
So I signed St Mirren when I was 4 years old. So it started when I went to the soccer camps. I just went down one day with my dad and they put I think that's probably back at times when I had to pay. So I went in at kind of the early kickers at 4 years old, and I joined the under 6s at the time because I never had a team at that age. So I started going there, and I think I might have been the coach at the time. Fraser Robertson was saying, like, I want you to come along to St Mirren and things like that. So I joined St Mirren at like 4 or 5 years old, and then worked through every age group all the way up till I made my debut in the first team. So I spent about, I think it worked out to about 16 and a half, 17 years I was at St Mirren. So I was there for a long, long time. So I owe everything to them, honestly.
And would you advise other boys to maybe join pro youth at that age?
Definitely, I wouldn't. There's two sides to it. Like I wouldn't. I loved every minute I did at St Mirren. I did have my tough times because we never played in the league. We never played in any cups. We never done anything like that. So that was difficult for me. So like when I was going to high school, I'm going to my mates who played with like Glennon for Thistle and like teams in Paisley. They're like, oh, we're going to Blackpool this weekend. We're going to Dublin. We're going to like Barcelona for a tournament. And I'm like, I've got a friendly against Morton next week. I was like, I'm not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, usually I've got to these tournaments. I'm meant to be pro youth. I'm meant to be like just say the best in my year. And I'm like, usually I've gone and been all these tournaments and playing like coming back showing us our trophies and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not doing it like that. I was like, what am I missing out? So there was a point about under 15s. Like I spoke to my dad and he was like, if you want to leave, you can leave and just try it for a couple of years and you can always come back. And then basically I never had the guts to do it and I stayed, and thankfully obviously it worked out that I stayed and it kind of it worked out. But I think especially a team like St Mirren, I think more recognition now that St Mirren's getting like Hamiltons and things like that are bringing a lot of youth players through. But I think because of the size of the clubs, young players get a lot more chances. Like more like I've come through like McGinn's, McLean's, like Kyle McGuinness has come through recently, and a lot of younger players are coming through at St Mirren. So I would definitely recommend doing a pro youth system because you've probably got the best of coaches and you've got a good chance at getting your kind of debut.
When did you sense there was a chance of making the first team at St Mirren?
It was a surprise. My debut was a surprise. I think everybody in the team was injured. So I don't. That's what I said. I said that before. I played that on the Tuesday. I played the under 20s game, and I think it was a youth cup at the time, and we won. We played Fall Cup, and I done really well. So I don't even remember. I saw obviously the Wednesday I would had a recovery. The Thursday or a Friday, I don't even remember playing with the first team. So we were obviously at youth teams. You're into about 4 or 5 o'clock at night. You're doing duties. You're doing like video analysis and stuff. So I think it was about 4 o'clock on the Friday, the day before the first team game. The head of youth at the time, David Longwell, had us all in a meeting, doing video analysis in the game on the Tuesday. And got a knock on the door. It was Tommy Craig, the manager at the time, and he like shouted me out. I was like, I've done my duties wrong, or I've not done somebody's boots or something like that. And I was like, oh no. So he put me in the office, and he was like, do you think you could start tomorrow? I was like, what? I don't. I think so. He was like, oh, do you think you could start? And I was like, well, kind of have to say aye. I'm like, I think I could start. And I wasn't even really training with the first team. Like a lot of boys that make their debuts, they're in about the first team all the time. I wasn't like that. And then it was like, I think at the time, Kenny McLean had to go up front because the strikers were injured. Jim Goodwin had to drop into centre back because the centre half was injured. So I was like, I kind of had to play centre mid. And we get beat off Hamilton 3-0 the next day. So I started and played, and we get beat 3-0 off Hamilton. And I think about a month later, or 2 months later, the boy I was up against, Tony Andreu, who I think he scored maybe like 2 that day, ended up getting like £1 million move to Norwich. So it wasn't a good debut for me, honestly.
It sounded like a bit of a debut for hell when I was reading about it. Hooked after 68 minutes as well. Is that right?
See, if saying hooked, I was knackered because, like I said, training for the youth team, a first team training session is hard enough. Never mind just jumping for like a youth team game to a first team game. But I was blown at my arse. Like, I was hooked, but I was like, I wasn't physically ready to play a full 90 minutes for a first team. Do you know what I mean? So like, we weren't really playing too great, not really creating many chances and stuff. But like, it was good just to get flung in the deep end. And because I think I had time to think about it, you kind of start panicking. But it was basically like go to sleep and then the next day you're playing. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't the best. And I think it maybe I don't think I made the squad the following week, so it wasn't great.
Do you think that was just because of like the differences in tempo between maybe youth games and first team games?
100%. Like the difference is incredible because youth team it's always good, it's technical, but when you go up to a first team, it's just men. Like you're playing with boys kind of run about your own age at under 20s, and then you get up to a first team. You're playing against Jim Goodwin, who was like 32 at the time, a full-grown man, captain. Like didn't care if you were the vice captain or a young boy. He was cementing you no matter what because you're there to take his position. Same as all the other boys in the team. Like it was just ferocious, the pace, and like it takes you a wee while to get used to that pace. If you're not really used to it, so especially going for that and a first team game is even. Like I said, you're playing youth team games under 20s. You've got the under 20s like youth development league. It doesn't really feel like a league because it doesn't feel like you're playing for much. Especially at kind of St Mirren youth level, we never really won it, if we ever did win it, to be honest. So you kind of knew you were only going to win the league, so it kind of felt like a friendly. Whereas you're going to a game on a Saturday with the first team, and like you're playing for points, you're playing for like obviously like boys are getting good wages, and like for fans you can get your dogs abuse. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a different level of football, honestly.
And I kind of get you on, mate, and no talk about that goal away to Dundee, your first goal. Talk me.
I know.
Broke, man.
That was honestly one. I would say that's up there with one of the best moments of my life. Just the feeling after it, the emotions after it, and the night out after it as well. That was good. So it was a good time, honestly. Just I couldn't believe it. I've not scored a goal like that. That's probably my downfall. Was that's probably everything after that's all long range goals, and I've not really scored many goals like that except like until I was like maybe like 13, 14 year old. Do you know what I mean? So went on amazing. I was like, I had it and I went in, and obviously like my parents and all that were in the away what do you call it, fans, the stuff that made it even better. All the boys after the game were going mental, and then like you said, most it's like Scottish thing. You go after it, you have to go. You get home and you get all the texts. I'm like, we were going out. So I actually remember having a few drinks in my mates' house before we went out. And obviously Sky Sports popped up, the goal popped up, and all my mates were going mental and stuff. So we went to I think it was like I don't know, maybe like an 18th birthday party, a 21st birthday party, and some of the boys, I just scored today. I was like, do you want to see it? I was going on my phone. I was like, do you want to see it? So it was amazing, honestly. And then obviously getting goal of the season, I actually always waited. The big thing was for me was obviously every morning everybody watches Soccer AM. So the following Saturday, I'm like, I need to be on Showboat. That's the only thing I watched Hangway for. I was like, I need to be on Showboat. And I actually ended up getting my own wee section where it was just my goal, like after Showboat. So I recorded that. I was absolutely buzzing with that. And then obviously at the end of the season, I ended up getting goal of the season, which just kind of topped it off. So there's the highs, and then it just all went downhill for there.
That's so big time going about a party, man, with your phone out showing them your goals.
I was steaming, but do you know what I mean? I'm like, it's different if it's like birds or something, but it was boys, do you know what I mean? It was like all the boys that I wanted to see my goal, and I'm like, it was because it was my first ever goal, and I was so buzzing. I'm like, I need to show people, man.
100%. So then you end up getting relegated to the Championship with St Mirren. Do you think that benefited you in the long run?
Aye, I would say so, because it gave me a chance to play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if we stayed in the league, that, to be honest, I don't know, because if we stayed in the league, I'm pretty sure that Gary Teale at the time and David Longwell would have got the job. I think they would have took over permanent, because it would have been a hard ask for them to keep us in the league. So, and they loved me at the time. David was the head of youth and Taylor was a player and like kind of brought me in and played me and stuff. So, and then obviously they got the sack at the end of the season and Ian Murray came in. So it was a hard one, because I remember the first game of the season. I didn't play I played the first game. I played the opening game. It was opening game of the season was away to Ibrox. The following Friday night away to Ibrox. And it was a sellout. It was like, because it was Rangers' first time in the Championship before they got to the Premiership. So it was like 58,000, and we were like, wow. And we had a young team. We had like boys on loan for Rangers and Celtic and stuff like that. So we had a young team. So probably helped for me to play. And I played, I think maybe missed maybe 1 or 2 games that season. Played that basically every game, and in the exact same the following season. Played kind of maybe missed 1 or 2 games again. Played every game. So I think sadly for St Mirren going down, it probably did benefit me. Aye.
So yeah, when you're just talking about your goals, then you're kind of saying how probably a lot of your goals were like free kicks or screamers outside the box and that. Was that something that you practiced when you were a lot younger, or just kind of come natural?
No, that's, to be honest, it's something I practiced that didn't really come naturally. Like I said, when I went to my dad's football, and when he was training, I had my own bag of balls, so I would go to the park next to him and I would just get 11 a cycle and just practice whilst he was training. Or after school, I would take a bag of balls into the school pitch, practice and like wrap the bag around the bar and put it in the corners and stuff. So like especially free kicks, I loved, like I don't know why, I just never get bored of hitting free kicks. Like it's just something I always practice on. It's something that my dad and I always kind of, they're like, you have to kind of bring something else to the table. Like you can't just be like another average football player or a good football player and stuff. You have to bring something else. So like my set pieces, my corners, my free kicks, and all that stuff that I've always practiced, and thankfully it's kind of helped me in my career. So definitely at a young age, that's something I always practiced with my shooting, my free kicks and stuff, because it was just something I never get bored of. Other boys are different. Other boys are like, we'll go up the park and practice a dribbling and like maybe things like that. I just loved hitting like set pieces. That was just my thing I loved doing. So, and even still, now that I'm here and I'm bored all the time, I just go out and with a bag of balls and just hit free kicks, because I've loved it since I was a kid, and I don't think I'll ever stop. That's
class, man. I love that. So after a couple of seasons in the Championship with St Mirren, decided to leave for Barnsley. What made you want to go there?
Right. It was too, like, same like this. It's too hard to turn down. Like we were obviously, it's just escaped relegation. Last day of the season, I was meant to go to Barnsley in the January. It fell through, so that was a big disappointment. I kind of expressed that I wanted to leave. I'd done a kind of 2 years at St Mirren, and I had the chance to go to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just imagine being at the bottom of the Championship. They get a phone call for a team at the time that was sitting 8th in the Championship in England. When I first got the phone call from my agent, they're like, Barnsley, weren't you? I was like, who's Barnsley? He was like, the English Championship. I thought they were League One. I was like, they want me? To be fair, I was doing all right in the Championship. I was scoring, but it's like, it's not as if I was doing all right in the Premiership. I was doing quite well in the Scottish Championship. I was like, that's a big jump. And then as soon as I obviously got that phone call, I was like, I need to go. Like, I can't no go. Like, you'd be lucky if that came about. So obviously I ended up going at the end of the season, and to be fair, I had tough times, I had good times at Barnsley. It was definitely a roller coaster, being down south. Like, obviously I wish I played more and stuff like that, and if I stayed the next season, I probably would have, because I remember the manager at the time, it was Daniel Stendel. At the start of the second season, he wanted me to stay, but I was getting phone calls from New Lennon and stuff telling me to come up to play Europa League with Hibs, so I was like, my heart was set on coming back up the road.
What would you say the main differences playing for St Mirren to Barnsley were?
See, that way you kind of have a step up for like youth team to first team. It was kind of like that again for St Mirren Championship to English Championship. It was just like a big difference. Like, playing against, if you thought that was men, these are like men that can run. Do you know what I mean? It was like a physical thing as well. I pride myself, like, I'm one of the fit. Any team I go to, I'm one of the fittest. Like, that just, I might not be fast, like, but running wise, I run one of the most, because of the position that I play centre mid. You have to be able to run far. So like, I went there as one of the fittest, but probably one thing I lacked was my pace and maybe my strength. So like, technically, yeah, it could have been up there with one of the best of the team technically, but in a league like that, technical attributes only get you so far. You have to be good defensively. You have to be strong. You have to be like, clued on and like how to play and stuff. So it did take me a wee while to. I still think I could have played a lot sooner, but because the team weren't doing too great, it was hard for me, because we were kind of down the bottom of the championship, so it was difficult to get into a losing team. Different if you're making your debut for a winning team and it's doing really well, you could maybe play a bit sooner, but obviously there's a lot of pressure on the manager and stuff. So finally made my debut in Boxing Day. I made my debut, and then I played I think about like 7-8 games after that. After I made my debut up until January, and I had the chance to go on loan to Hibs. So I went to see the manager at the time. And I was like, Gaffer, do you want me to stay, because I've got a chance to go to Hibs on loan? Hibs are fighting for, I think it was like top 3 at the time, the season with Neil Lennon and stuff. So he was like, no, you're playing. Like, why would I let you leave? And I'm like, that's fine. That's just what I want to hear. I want a bit of kind of security that you want me here. So that was like the Thursday, man. We played away. We just say like away to Sunderland or something on the Saturday. We get beat on the Sunday. Obviously, we had the day off. On the Monday, the gaffer wasn't in. Well, that was the gaffer. He went to Leeds. I was like, you're joking me? And that was deadline day. He went to Leeds, and I'm like, I can't believe that. So he went, Hecky, at the time, obviously Hecky came back up to Hibs, but he went to Leeds, and I was gutted, and then I hardly played after that.
And how did you find the standard of the championship?
Amazing, honestly, man. See, that's the one thing I about that season. It was difficult. I'd hardly played the games, but the games that I played were like the top teams. So I played against like the games I started was like Preston, who were up the top, towards the top, Wolves, Aston Villa, Fulham, and a few, I can't remember, like played like Queen's Park Rangers, stuff like that. So the games that I started in that, like, it was against the top teams, so I loved the standard, man. It was brilliant. Even like all the stadiums and that you go to as well. Just coming from like St Mirren, you're playing away to like Queen House and like Brave Rovers, going and playing away to like Middlesbrough. Do you know what I mean? It was just night and day. I was like, this is where I want to be. And then it was lonely being down there, but it's because I never played. I had 2.5 seasons of playing every week, knowing I was going to play. Maybe that's a kind of bad mindset to get yourself into, but I was playing every week. So you're like, I'm like good down there thinking, right, might not play after a few months, but I'll just build myself into the team. But it generally took about 5 months before I started playing, so it was difficult for that. That's what I felt anyway.
Is that what kind of made you want to come back up to Scotland with Hibs?
That's what I mean. Like, so I was obviously getting phone calls from Neil Lennon saying like, we want to give him a 4-year deal. We're in Europa League next season. This is where I want to play him. Because they've seen that I've not really been injured, they were like, we see he's getting no injuries. Like, I was playing under 21 Scotland at the time, so obviously they see my games from there. So, and I played. To be fair, I scored a couple of goals against Hibs in the Championship when we were both in the Championship. So they kind of knew what I was all about. So I knew that I wasn't the one they're going to hit me with a 4-year deal. They weren't going to buy me as well without going to play me. So as soon as I got that phone call, and I'm a Celtic fan as well, so as soon as you get the phone call from Neil Lennon and he tells you you're amazing and all that, like just like a manager would, somebody wants to sign you, you're like, I'm going. I'm like, there's no kind of turning back. I'm like, I'm going. I want to play Europa League and stuff like that. And it's, to be fair, I don't think I would ever regret the decision. I could have played League One England. I might have not have, because obviously we get relegated. The manager was like, I want you to stay. I want you to play. I'm like, all the same players from the Championship are still here in League One. So I'm like, so if I never played then, why would I play League One? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
He was like, no, I want you to play and things like that. I'm like, nah, I want to go. I'm like, I want to go. So I think it was like a week into pre-season. I was at the gaffer's door nearly every day, and he was like, why? I thought you want to stay. I was like, I don't want to stay. I want to go. I was like, they've got Europa League next week. I want to play. I think I was up. I came up on a Friday night or something like that. Played Paul Hanlon's testimonial for about 20 minutes on this Saturday, and then especially that season, on a Thursday, I played every game after that. So it was, I would never regret that decision.
See, just on what you were saying about the Scotland under 21s, how much do you think that improved you as a player?
See, that was like my sanctuary, if you would say, because I wasn't playing at Barnsley, and like Scott Gemmon was phoning me. He's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I can't get in the team." I'm like, "They're like, obviously we're not doing too great." He's like, "Right, I still want you to come up and be amongst the 21s." I was like, "For Gonny," because I want to get up the road. Like I'm bored at my nut here. Like get me up the road. So I owe it to him to like kind of keep that faith in me. And obviously, I came up, trained really well, and every game I kind of played anyway, so which was perfect. So I loved being back up to 21s. I was back in with my roommate was Lewis Morgan as well, so we were good mates for like kind of St Mondays and that as well. So I was going back up to a good a mate. All the boys at my age were all brilliant as well. So I wasn't. When you're in a team and you're not really playing, you don't really. You're part of the squad, but you don't really feel part of the squad because a lot of times I wasn't in the squad and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a first team player. So I'm like, didn't really bond with a lot of. I did bond with a lot of players, but you don't feel as close because you're not really playing. It's a weird feeling to have. So to come back up to like 21s every kind of couple of months I loved it because it kind of gave me about 10 days away. Seeing all that my mates actually played football, played against good teams and stuff. So the 21s was brilliant for me.
What other boys would have been in the Scotland team with you, apart from Lewis Morgan?
So kind of our starting team would be like Liam Smith or Anthony Ralston, Suter, McKenna, Big Jace at St Johnston, left back Greg Taylor. Then there was like me, Alan Campbell, Chris Cadden, Big Ollie McBurney, Morgie, Greg Docherty. But a decent team, like Dom Thomas as well. So we had a good team, like, and we had a good team. Like, we actually never done too great, but we beat Holland twice and things like that. So it was incredible. Some of the games that we played, like, and they're all good pals of mine. So like, I love being up and playing with them.
And just on your Hibs debut, not a bad way to start, scoring twice in Europa League.
Everybody says a lot. Oh, you scored against Fisherman and all that because it's a part-time team. I'm like, I'll take it. I'm like, that is one of the hardest games I've been involved in because I think I had a week of pre-season at Barnsley because the English teams are back a bit later. So I had about a week pre-season at Barnsley. And Hibs had already been back for like 3.5 weeks. They've done their pre-season because they're preparing for the Europa League game. So I wasn't fit. Like obviously Neil Lennon's like, "You fit?" And I'm like, of course I'm fit. Like I want to play in it. I was breathing at my arse. I'm like, thank God it was like Fisherman because I was like, if it was them there, like a good level, I'd have been knackered. So it was a good debut, and obviously the second game was good as well. Like scored a couple of goals then, and I think it was actually the second round, like the fitness kicked in because we played against a good Greece side, and like I think especially the second leg, McGinn got us through that game before he left. So that was a big thing for me coming back up the road, was that kind of chance to play Europa League, and sadly it didn't work out, but we got put out for Ellen Haaland, so we can't really complain about that. So
Mate, you should be bigging that team up rather than calling them fishermen since you scored twice against them.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I bigged them up. I said they were brilliant, but I'm just saying what everybody else seems to say to me, like Boyley and all that, like Ryan Porteous and Boyley. That's what they said to me was, oh, they're fishermen and stuff, but they're still a good team. Oh God, they actually play some decent football, but we were big favourites.
You touched on it a wee bit earlier. Neil Lennon was obviously a big factor in you joining Hibs. How good was he to play under? You like every day?
Like I said, I love Neil Lennon. Honestly, he was definitely, even though I worked with him for just a short time, he's still one of the best managers I've worked under. Honestly, just he's a good man. You've got like a manager, like if, you have to kind of have a kind of fear factor, and like a lot, like you were scared of him, like, but it kept you on your toes every day at training. Like I swear I've never trained so hard in my life as I did under him, because like you would be doing a bit of training and you could kind of tell it was going a bit shit, and you could just see him walking away with a pole during training. You're like, where's he gone? And like the training centre at Hibs is massive, and he's just going like, stop, run to that pole and back, don't be last. That you're like, what? He's like, run. So you have to run to the pole and back, and we're like, what's going on? He's like, I'm not watching this. He's like, you need like, it was just crazy stuff like that, but it just made you be on your toes. It made you want to win, and then you get like get into every game, you expected to win. That was just a thing. Like especially at home, you're going to win, or if you go away, you're not going to lose. So that's what I was saying. Like especially that season, I don't think we get beat off Celtic or Rangers. We get beat off Rangers on the last day of the season, 1-0 away. I'm pretty sure that was the case. That was a probably difficult one, but every other game before that we didn't lose, because we were at every game like I feel like you feel like a gladiator. Honestly, you feel like you're just going to go in and you're going to win. You're going to beat every day. Some of the games we were shocking, and it definitely let us know that was his thing. Was like you go in, say you're 1-0 down or something like that, or the game's finished 1-0, you get beat. You're going in going, oh no, like what's he going to say? He's just going to go through us, and like you'd walk in and you have like Gary Parker taking the tactics board, hiding it in the corner and that, because he's just going to go in and volley it, and then like you'd see him like you walk in and like, who's got that tactics board there? Like get away before he comes in, because he's going to go mental. Do you know what I mean? So like that, but then it just kind of kept you like, it just made you want to win, because he wanted to win so much. It fed through the team. That's just like, even in training, I loved going to training because I knew it was going to be a hard working session. I knew the manager really liked me. He wanted to play me. Like my best football was probably under him. I scored a lot of goals under him and done quite well. So I'd loved working under him, and I kind of wish that I had more time.
I've had another a couple of other boys that have been at Hibs under Lennon, and they kind of says that you were going to Ibrox, Parkhead and that without any fear at all, because he just gave you that mindset. Did you feel that as well?
I swear, I mean, that is exactly how I felt. You actually felt like you're going there, you're like, we're not going to lose today. Like you're going to Ibrox, do you know what I mean? You're going to Parkhead, big games, and like, well, we're not losing. Like it's fine. Like usually, if you're like, the only times that I've been at Ibrox at the time was with St Mirren and stuff. We were going there, I'm like, fuck, this could be it. This could be a cricket score. Do you know what I mean? But you're gone there, like, we're not getting beat today. This is going to be a good game and stuff. And like some of the games were amazing. Like we played, like we went toe to toe with them and things like that. And that's just the way it made you feel. He was just like a motivator that you couldn't every game, like not expecting to lose. Yeah, some of the times you do lose, and it does give you dogs abuse and stuff, but some of the times it's probably just because we were late and stuff like that. He brings out the best in boys. That's what I feel anyway.
What's the worst time that you've ever seen him lose it after a game or something?
So like we beat off. I think we're on like a 7-game winning streak or something like that. We're up kind of towards the top of the league, and we went away to Livingston, and Livingston were doing well at the time. And I think they beat us 2-1. I get whipped off because boy Sean Byrne, who was at Liv at the time, I swear he's turned into prime Messi, and he's done. I think we've watched that. I think we've laughed about it now. At the time, I didn't laugh about it. He chopped me, Effie Ambrose, and Martin Boyle, and passed it in the net. So I've been the first one. So he's chopped me. I've dived in as if I'm going to block a shot, like shite bag, honestly, and like turned my back, and he's chopped me. Effie's done the same, chopped him, done Boyley, and then he's tapped it in net. And obviously, after that, we've got beat after the game. So he's went in, he started going mental, like you said, like hide up, but the Lava changing room's tight, so everything's there. So he's like gone mental, and he's picked up like water bottles, and like he's shouting at everybody, like saying like, you're a shite bag for turning her back for the shot, because if we don't turn her back, we just stand and he doesn't go anywhere. But before I turned her back, he's like picked up and he's just looked at me and I went, oh no. And he's like picked up and he's just turned around and threw it in the shower. I was like, oh no, I thought he was going to hit me with it. Honestly, I was like, oh no. And then he flung it in the shower. So that's probably one of the worst I've seen him go, was that. But it was just because he wanted us to do well. We went away to Livy. Maybe if we came back away with a draw, it wouldn't have been too bad. But after that, I think we struggled to pick up a few results after that. But that's probably the worst I've seen him.
And you scored a screamer in the Edinburgh Derby. What was that like to play in?
The best Edinburgh Derby I've played in was my first one. I think it was a Friday night or something like that, or maybe a Tuesday night. I'm pretty sure, in fact, it was a Friday night. And like the build up to the game, because obviously with Lenny, like we stayed overnight. Every home game we stayed overnight, so the build up to the game was quite long. So like in a hotel all day and stuff, and then like driving to the first game was obviously away to Tynecastle. So I've never been to Tynecastle before, but like previous to this, because I played 21s at Tynecastle, sorry, but I've never been for Edinburgh Derby. So like seeing all the fans and that, and like it's generally, honestly, the first game I've ever been nervous. I don't get nervous for games. I don't get butterflies. I don't get anything. I'm just calm. And then that was the first game. I was like sitting in the bus, like always have a coffee on the bus to the game. I could feel my stomach going. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually nervous about this. And then like all the boys were like, wait till you see the atmosphere and that. I'm like, nah, it was like, it'll be good and stuff. And sweet, even obviously it's on BT Sports and that, even the warm up, like the fans were ferocious. I'm like, this is incredible. And then like, she's been in that tunnel, hearing obviously it's the Tynecastle, it's the Heart song, sorry. So in the stadium, you hear all the fans, and we walked out, the two sets of crowd. The Hibs end, the away end is just full green, and obviously everything else is maroon. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I've been to Ibrox sellout where I was at St Mirren, been to Parkhead sellouts, and like when I walked out on that pitch, I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is where I want to be at. And to be fair, that game was 0-0, but I hit the bar twice and I hit the post once. So I was like, I should have scored. And like, I think previous to that, I think that, like the week before that, somebody tweeted me saying, if you score a free kick at Tynecastle, I'm going to get you tattooed on me. So I screenshotted it. I'm like, I had a perfect opportunity. I had a free kick and it smacked the bar. I couldn't believe it, because I saw that as soon as I stepped up, I'm like, I'm getting this boy to get a tattoo. So hit the bar, I was gutted, and then the game finished 0-0, and I was like, it was 0-0, but honestly, it was unbelievable atmosphere. Like, don't get me wrong, Easter Road's good, especially when I scored that goal and stuff. Easter Road's frightening, but I don't think anything beats being at a derby game in the away team, because the away fans just erupt, and like you see the silence of the home crowd. That's amazing. And one of the best ones was probably the one we won 2-1 away. Darryl Horgan scored 2. That's up there with one of the best moments, especially at Hibs anyway, because we went 1-0 down. The Hearts were pumping us, and then we got a goal out of nothing, and then the second goal in the second half, just seeing the fans going mental. That's probably the one thing I'll miss, like not being a Hibs anymore, is the derbies, because it was frightening.
Is that the biggest games that you think you've played in? Edinburgh Derby?
Aye, 100%. I've played St Mirren Morton and stuff, but big game for local people. I'm a Paisley boy, so big game for local people. You don't want to lose the games, but when you're in that atmosphere, you're in that situation, that kind of hostility of the games, I don't think anything beats that. To be honest, I've yet to see the Turkish fans, so they might surprise me, but I don't think anything will beat being a Hibs player and going to Tynecastle, because the atmosphere it's something that I'll always have in my memory.
And just on Jack Ross at Hibs, how much an influence was he for you?
He was a big influence, like at the start, big influence for me at St Mirren. Played probably my best football at St Mirren under Jack. Like I said before, I was meant to leave in January. It's kind of just after he came in, and it fell through, and I was disappointed and stuff. So he kind of helped me through that. He was like, "Just stay, you'll play. I know you're a bit disappointed now, but keep going the way you're going. It'll come back." And I'm like, "It won't come back." I'm like, "Why would they come back and stuff?" So I ended up generally playing probably the best football I've ever played under him. And Barnsley ended up coming back. That's obviously when I left, and even at that time he was brilliant with me. So when he first came in, obviously I was delighted because I've worked with him before, and I always loved working with Jack, and like obviously Potsy and that's came in now, but obviously I want to play more. That's probably how I ended up going out on loan as well. So when he came in, I think halfway through the second season, I ended up getting my injury as well. So I done my knee, which just killed me, my progress and stuff. And then obviously COVID hit. So I was in and out of the team when he first came in, and I started doing quite well. Then done my knee, so I was out until like the March, and then COVID hit, and then it was obviously that would have been last season was the start of the season. So up until I went out on loan, I was, like I said, training all that, brilliant. I loved that. That's one thing I miss as well, was all the boys and the training stuff. I love the training and that. So obviously disappointed that I didn't play kind of the first kind of 6 months before I went on loan, but the boys were doing really well. It was like at the start, it was difficult to get in the team. That was probably, I think you've got more chances to go in and chat with the gaffer's door when the boys aren't doing too great, but the boys were doing well. So it's like needlessly going to talk to the gaffer, like, how can I get, like, your usual, can I get, how do I get in the team? He tells you, like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, that's fine, but you need to kind of wait your opportunity. I was like, it's just part and parcel of football. You, like, as soon as they get beat or something like that, that's when you go in and chat with the gaffer's door, but then you need to back it up. So there was times where I felt like I should have played. Maybe there's times I had a stinker and stuff, so it's deserved. So that's probably why I ended up going out on loan in the January, and he was brilliant with me even then as well. So I've 100% got a lot of time for Jack. He's probably one of the best managers that I've worked under as well.
How did the move to Yeni Malatyaspor come about in Turkey?
It was a surprise. Like, it was a surprise because I wasn't meant to go out on loan. Like, I spoke to the gaffer and he's like, I don't want you to go out on loan. And I'm like, I need to play. I'm not playing. Like, I want to enjoy. Yeah, I enjoy my football and stuff, but I want to enjoy it. I want to play every week. I'm like, there was towards the end, I was like going away to Fir Park, not even making it on the pitch. Like I said, the boys are winning 3-0, so I'm not going to go on the pitch, which I knew about. So I was like, I need to go out and experience something new and stuff like that. So there was a couple of a chance for me to go down south. That kind of fell through. Just say on a Friday, that fell through, and then on the Saturday, I got a phone call saying from my agent, "Do you want to go to Turkey?" And I'm like, "Do I want to go to Turkey?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "What team?" And then he told me the team, and I was like, "Who's that?" I'm like, I had to Google them. I'm like, "The Super League," and I was like, "That's fair enough and stuff." So I was like, "Let me think about it." So I went and spoke to Jack and stuff, and he was like, "I don't want to." He's like, "I don't want you to go for selfish reasons, but if you say to me, I really want to go and experience it," he's like, "I'll let you go." He's like, "I need you for my team because I'm not really got that type of player in my team now that I can utilise." I'm like, I don't want to be that bench player. And he knew, he's played the game before. He knows that I don't want to be a bench player. So he was like, if you really want to go, I'll let you go. So I think it took a good week and a half to decide. And I'm like, all right, I really want to go. Until I get the all clear off my missus to say I could go to Turkey for 4 months, I was like, right, I can go. So I went back to the gaffer. I was like, right, I want to go. It was a new experience. I don't know if I was going to play or not, but I'd imagined I'd be involved. So I think I was there. I was there one day, and I was starting the next game, and I scored. So it was actually, I would never regret what I came out here and done because, yeah, I never started a lot more. I wanted to start more games, but I was involved in every single game that I was when I came out here, which was I was buzzing about. I wasn't involved in a lot of games at Hibs towards the end. Whereas here, if I wasn't playing, I was one of the first off the bench. So it was a good decision for me.
So you scoring on your debut, do you think that kind of helped you settle in a wee bit more?
Aye, 100%. Because so I came in with a few players, and like I walked walked down a squad of about 30 boys. I'm like, what's going on here? I generally think it was like one of the ones where you come and they didn't know who you were. I was like, they didn't like. I was like, I don't know if they know I should be here and stuff. So I'm like, but it turns out I was meant to be there. But what's probably helped me was I came with a few boys who weren't too great. So I'm like, I hope they don't think I'm as bad as them. I'm like, I'm actually an alright football player. So we played like small sidies on the day before the game, my first day, and I scored a lot. To be fair, I scored a lot of goals, and might have helped that I had a good team. But they've done really, really well, and I think the gaffer was even surprised. And then the next day, I was starting. I'm like, I'm starting. He's like, you're starting. I was like, fair enough. Managed to score, but it was crazy. Like the guy that we had, the first manager that I had ended up having like the 3 managers in the space of 4 months. The first manager I had that game, I swear, started centre mid. After 6 minutes, went to number 10. After about 7 minutes, went to left mid and played the rest of the game left mid. And like the striker went to centre mid. The right mid went to number 10. It just changed everything, like every 10 minutes. I'm like, what's going on? I'm shouting, I'm not a left mid. I'm not a left mid. I've got zero pace. I'm like, what are you doing? And then which didn't help was I scored. I was like, oh no, he's going to think I'm a left mid now. That's the first thing I thought about when I scored, honestly. I'm like, I'm not left mid. I don't want to play here. So I think I scored and done quite well. And then I was a surprise. I never played for like 2 games after that. He just benched me. And I'm like, so the next week when we go to play the game, I'm like, right, I'll have to be playing. I've done all the fans were buzzing, all the staff at the club were buzzing for me. And I'm like, right, I've got to be playing. Done the shape for the game. He picked the team. And I'm like, why am I not playing? And like, so you kind of have a laugh. Like, if you're not playing, the subs always have a laugh and just say like, oh, I should be playing, all that like usual shit. So then all I heard was welcome to Turkey. I was like, what do you mean welcome to Turkey? And he's like, that's just what happens. Like 1 week you can be playing, 1 week you can't be playing. That's just adjusting. I was like, I literally scored and we drew 2 each against a good team away from home. I'm like, and everybody's saying I've done so well. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to be playing next week. And I never played for like 2 or 3 games. I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm like, I'm back to square one. I was coming on, but I'm like, I want to be playing. So I started playing a bit more and stuff. So it's just that kind of opened my eyes up a wee bit to Turkey. So it was crazy.
So then the loan move ends up becoming permanent. Was that a big decision for you to make? Obviously signing the 2-year deal, having to get the permission for your missus once again.
Honestly, this was probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. I swear, like, took me I maybe 2 weeks to decide. I think 2 weeks to decide. Because it's not as if you're just going out on loan. Like, you come here, you don't know when you're going to get back home. You've got international breaks, things like that. But Turkey's still on the red list, so I still can't get home. So we had like 4 days off like last week. I couldn't get home. I went to Antalya on my own because everybody else here flew home. I'm like, I couldn't go anywhere. So I just went to Antalya to play golf. I was like, I couldn't get home. Couldn't meet anywhere or anything like that. So like when I got the phone call saying like, do you want to make it permanent? Firstly I says no. I was like, I want to kind of fight my way into the team and things like that. And then I kind of found like I was playing in pre-season and stuff, and like kept speaking to the manager, and he was playing me during pre-season, but he wasn't really putting me in like the starting 11 team because he was like, I can't trust you to go in there until I fully know that you're going to commit to Hibs. I was like, fair enough. And then obviously get the phone call that everything had been agreed. It was just basically for me to decide if I want to go or not. So I ended up going back to my missus and like speaking to a lot of people, speaking to a lot of football people, speaking to a lot of like guys that played football, like experienced guys and stuff at the club, like my family, my missus and that. And then I think I kind of finally decided to say yes. And then I think me and my missus kind of went with her family, went away for like 5 days or something. Had like 5 days off before I could fly out, just to kind of spend a bit of time before we went out. So that's like I said previously, like that last day leaving Hibs, I actually felt really upset because I was like, you don't know when you're going to see all these people again, like people that I've spent every day of the past 3 years with, coming for like the chefs, the cleaning people, the physio staff that when I had my injury, worked with them at the club, the sports scientist, and like first and foremost, all the boys, the best boys I've ever met, like just friends that I'll have for life. Do you know what I mean? So, that was one of the hardest decisions that I've made, and hopefully I don't regret it. But I don't think I will.
Moving over to Turkey, what would you say the main sort of culture differences are for Scotland?
First and foremost, obviously the language and the heat. That's probably the 2 big things. Like you walked off the flight, it was like 40 odd degrees, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't handle the heat in Scotland, never mind here. Then obviously the language is a bit of a barrier, but we have interpreters, so that helps a lot. We've got a lot of interpreters here, so when the gaffer's talking, you've got one guy speaking French, one guy speaking English, so they help you out anyway, so that's good. And then the big thing for me is the dressing room. I love a good dressing room. Do you know what I mean? You need to have a dressing room with banter and the boys having a laugh, but we don't have a dressing room here. We have bedrooms, so you've got an individual bedroom. So basically, you go into the dressing. Sorry, we've got a wee dressing room. You go in there and get your kit and your boots, and basically just go up to your bedroom, get changed in your bedroom, relax in your bedroom, and then just meet at the training pitch. So you don't really have that close knit. So I've spoke to a journalist before, and he said that Kenny Miller had the same, and he went to, can't remember what team Kenny went to, but he had the exact same problem. Is that when he walked in, they were like, "Oh, this is your bedroom." He was like, "My bedroom? Like, where's the dressing room?" He's like, "Oh, we don't have a dressing room." So that's just the experience. So that my first day, I walked in, they were like, "There's your bedroom." I'm like, "What have I got a bedroom for?" That was a changing room, and he's like, "You just get your kit in the changing room, and go up to your bedroom." So that's the one thing I miss, is that kind of close knit, is having like mates in the team. You can sit in the dressing room having a laugh on your phones, like just doing daft stuff before you go out and train. Whereas here, it's just all football focused, and you can be a bit on your own. That's the one thing I'd say I don't really like. I love like all the boys here. I love the staff and like the experience, but I feel like we could be a bit closer in that sense. Just be kind of having everything. It's just different cultures, just different ways, and I think it's the same all over Turkey.
I think that's something that can be easily adapted to, or do you think that'll take time?
No, obviously I've done it for 4 months, so I've adapted anyway. So I'm used to it now. But I feel like I just feel like the squad would be a lot closer together if we had. Yeah, to be fair, we've got about 28 boys, so it'd be hard to fit everybody in a dressing room. But I feel like we should have something like that, just so everybody mingles in, because you do have your own wee groups. You've kind of got a lot of African boys, you've got a lot of boys that speak French, and then you've got like all the Turkish boys. Do you know what I mean? So you've got you cliques. That happens in every football dressing room. But I feel like if we had our own dressing room, I think everybody would be a bit closer together. But here, you've got time to rest. So you come to training, let's say, we don't train till night time because of the heat. So say you've got like, you come at 4, train at 5, you've got a rest between like, I don't know, like 6:30 and 7:30 where you go to sleep, and then you've got dinner, things like that. It's just different ways of football out here. So it's just different cultures that's something I want to experience when I come out anyway, just to try something new.
And see on the park, in terms of the football, how would you say that the standard kind of compares to back in Scotland?
It's difficult, man. Like, Scottish game's hard because it's so physical and so fast, and like teams are in your face pressing, and like the pitches aren't great. Like, whereas here, like every pitch is immaculate. The pitches are massive. Every stadium's massive, and like, yeah, teams here don't press as much. They give you a bit more time on the ball, but like everybody, honestly, is so technically good. That's just the one thing that's a big difference between here and Scotland, is like technical ability. It's just a norm here. Like Scotland, you can get away with being a runner. You can get away with being strong and stuff. But like everybody here, even if you're strong and fast, like you've got technical ability. That's a big thing. That's why I love playing here, because everybody will give you the ball, no matter if you've got a guy up your arse or you're in tight spaces. Everybody wants to. I've yet to see a team that kick the ball out for a goal kick. Everybody plays short, like, and that's just, you love that, like just playing football. And that's one thing. I wouldn't have come back out here if I didn't like the football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, money and all that can be great, but 2 years is a long time if you don't enjoy the football that you're playing, if you don't like the team that you're playing with as well. So that's one thing I wanted to come back with as well, is because I love playing the football. I love the kind of the way Turkish football is, and maybe it is a bit more suited to me, but I do like it.
What would you say your main ambitions are for your time in Turkey?
I've got a lot. That's the tough part. I've got a lot of time on my own. I've got a lot of time, so I'm like, that's what I was speaking to my missus that before I came out, is like, what am I going to do for 2 years? I'm like, it's a long time, and you miss a lot of things back home and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I've got to do. I was like, I need to stay away from the Xbox, so I need to stay away from that. But first and foremost, like, I want to be in a team. I want the team to do well, and I want to play every week. That's the one thing I want to do. I want to play as much football as possible. I've got a lot more time to say, like, working my physical, like the stuff that I need to work on. I've got so much time here, so I've got no excuses. Back home, those times I was lazy because of the drive. I stayed in Paisley, so driving from Edinburgh and back every day and stuff like that. So it was long, and you did get a bit lazy. Whereas here, basically living at the changing room, so I've got the time to go to the gym, so I want to kind of change myself physically. That's one thing I want to do, and then score as many goals as possible, and just have especially this first season anyway, just have the best season that I can. I've worked so hard, and I've got all the time in the world to do that. And then I'm going to try as hard as I can to learn Turkish as well. So that's going to be difficult. I've started learning that now, so it's not easy. I'll tell you that, it's not easy. But because I've got so much time, it just gives me something to do.
I think things in general probably become a wee bit easier once you learn more of the language, eh?
Yeah, I think that's like, there's a few boys here that are foreign who have learnt the language, pardon me, a little bit, and it helps them getting about, like getting taxis and speaking to local people and going to the shops and stuff. I need to go to the shops and say, sorry, I don't speak Turkish, I only speak English. So it is a bit rude in a sense as well, because you're in somebody else's country, so you kind of want to buy into their culture. So you kind of want to show that you're learning. Do you know what I mean? Not rather than just relying on somebody else knowing English. You're in somebody else's country, so I want to kind of show that I'm at least trying to learn the language. So I've got some of the words that I need for football. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got a little words that I need just for like kind of football, or like go to the supermarket asking for like chicken and stuff like that. So I've got wee words. So it's just trying to string things into a sentence. Now that's the hard part.
Would you say to other boys to go abroad and play? Maybe playing in Scotland now?
100%. Like, I think that's one thing that probably made me come out, is that I don't want to look back in my career and regret no doing anything. Like, because like, yeah, I had 1 year left at Hibs. Say I played, say I didn't play. If I didn't play, most likely I'm going down the way. It's part and parcel of football. Like, you don't play, you might go to a lesser team and you start going down and down. The money starts going down and down. So I'm like, is there going to be another opportunity of this? I really don't know. So I'm like, I had to do it. I was like, I need to do it. I don't want to be sitting at 35, 36, retiring and going, why did I not go to Turkey? I'm like, yeah, it's 2 years of your life, but it's an experience. I'm like, why did you not go? I'm like, why did I not go? You've got one life, you've got one career, and a football career is really short. And like, that's what probably made me kind of push towards going, is that go and experience, like, go and experience the world, go and experience new football, new leagues, new sets of players, meeting new friends. Like, yeah, it is a lonely place. That not a lot of players will be able to do it. I think that's one thing that holds boys back, is being kind of lonely. I've done it for 4 months, so I think, honestly, if I didn't do that for 4 months, it'd have been tougher for me to say yes this time, because I'd done it and I could do it and I loved the football. That's what it was a little bit easier for me to say yeah. So I think that's probably one thing that makes boys know what to go out, is being that kind of in a lonely place, because it's tough. So, but I would definitely recommend a lot more people doing it.
There's not too many boys that actually go and do it. Like we were speaking before we were recording about it, and you could, like you said, you could probably count on what, 2 hands the amount of boys that have went abroad.
Like I said, like the boy Henderson, like Liam Henderson, like Shanks is obviously, he's went now. Goldie, he's obviously loved it in Portugal, went over to America. I think like Sam Nicholson, that was in America. Boy Lewis Morgan's in America now. So like, not really many after that that's kind of stayed abroad. So that's probably the kind of, not a sad thing, but it's just, it is kind of difficult for Scottish people to go abroad, because like when I came here, they were all surprised that I was Scottish. They were like, you don't really hear many Scottish people going, especially Turkey. And I'm like, you don't really have that many opportunities to go abroad. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, so maybe that's probably a thing as well. But they were like, they were pretty surprised, and that probably shows it as well, because they were surprised that I came across. And I'm like, I wanted to try something new.
Aye, definitely. If it's all right with you, mate, we'll finish on the quick fire questions.
Aye, go for it.
Right, so best atmosphere you've played in?
Easy. Tynecastle away with Hibs. Like, probably the 2-1 game, especially.
Your best mate in football?
I've had a few. I was really close with Lewis Morgan. Most recently, probably like Martin Boyle and Ryan Porteous. Really close with them.
Favourite goal you've scored?
That's a difficult one. For emotions and stuff, I'd need to see my debut goal, my solo goal. I've had a good few goals after that I've loved, but I'd say definitely maybe the solo goal, my debut goal.
The best stadium you've played in?
I've got to say, the easiest one to say is like Parkhead. I'll obviously, being a fan and stuff like that, got to Parkhead's amazing, but most recently I'd say Galatasaray. That was incredible.
The biggest achievement you've had in football?
Biggest achievement? It's not really a massive achievement, but I think when we stayed up on the last day of the season with St Mirren because we were 21 points adrift. And when Jack Ross came in and changed the team and brought in like 10 players, we were written off and we're done. Like we were the 21 points adrift. And then on the last day, we ended up staying up. That was unbelievable, honestly. Like just for like when you're going for like Premiership to Championship is difficult, but going from Championship to League One, that's when like people start losing jobs. That's when like, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of staff can get let go. So you're not just playing for the team, you're playing for like a lot of people's careers and that as well. So like there was a lot of pressure on us, and to do it in the last of the season was unbelievable.
The biggest Mona you've played with?
Mona?
Or I?
Mona. Jack Baird. Incredibly. Like honestly, not played with Beardy for a long time, but honestly, seeing us at Mondays, he's the moneyest guy on the training pitch and in a game. He's one of the moneyest guys I've ever worked with and played with.
And lastly, the best, well, a five-a-side team of the best players you've played with and why?
Right. Goalkeeper. See, he'll kill me if I don't see him. So, goalie Marciano. He did play up there with one of the best that I've played. Like, even the goalkeepers in Turkey have surprised me they're that good. But I'll say number one, Ofir Marciano. Then 4 outfielders. I don't include myself, just 4 other boys.
Chuck yourself in if you want to, mate. That's up to you.
No chuck myself in. No chance. So probably defence. I'd probably. I'd say defence maybe like Porto. I think he could go on and have a really good career. He's still really young. I played with him, like Ryan Porteous, when he was young, breaking through, and I thought like he was really good. I was surprised that like 18 year was that good. So defence, I'd say Porto, and I think he could kick on after he's finished with Hibs. I think he could kick on and have a brilliant career and play with Scotland and stuff. So I'd say definitely Porto. John McGinn, I've played with St Mirren and played with him at Hibs. Definitely John. God, he's one of like for what he was at St Mirren, what he is now. It's honestly unbelievable what he's done. So you can't even say John. John. I'm trying to think if he even played with. Ryan Gold surprised me. Not I'm saying surprised me. He was a magician with the ball at his feet, honestly. Didn't really play that much at Hibs, but seeing him training and stuff, unbelievable. I've said that a lot of times when you see him, what he's doing in Portugal, and obviously now he's in America. He's honestly incredible. And trying to get ball players, man. Maybe now that he's going to, 100%, he's going to have an incredible career. Probably be Billy Gilmore. Only played with him a couple of times at 21s, but I've played with like Kenny McLean and that as well, so it's hard. But I say for going forward for their careers, I think Billy's going to kick on. And I thought he was good. I thought he was really good when he first came into 21s, and I think he was only like 16 at the time. And like he took the ball and stuff like that. I'm like, he's quality, but see what he's done now. And like when I've watched his games and stuff, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like he is incredible. So I'd say Billy.
He's unbelievable. Then you got a striker.
Oh, what was that? 1, 2, 3. Striker. Played with a good few strikers, but I'd say between either Big Kiefer Moore, who's playing for Wales now. I think maybe he's at Cardiff now. Done incredible in the Euros and that as well. Big Kiefer Moore, or actually the boy that I'm with now, Adam Burke, at Malatyaspor. He's a small guy. Honestly, he's about 5'5", but he can jump to about 7 foot. Like the power he's got is incredible, and like he's shooting and all that. Like he scored 7. I think we never done too great last year. He scored 17 goals, and he's playing like left mid or striker, and he's small as anything. But then like the goals that he scores is incredible, and he's quality. Like he played like Galatasaray and that before, which helps. But he's a bit older now, but he's quality. So I'd maybe say Adam Burke.
That's brilliant, mate. Top man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No, brilliant. Thanks for having me, mate.